I'm just going to wait for people to show up. Actually, hold on, turn my mic on. Can you guys hear me? Are we doing good? Got one person on. Hello, Hess family. How is life in Kansas? Can you hear me well? Just want to make sure the sound is working properly. Very good. Nice. We got 3 people. We're getting, if we have 5 people, this is a party at this point. Waiting for thunderstorms. Very hot, felt like 110. Yeah, it's been getting hot lately. California, it's worse. In some parts of California, man, it's like ridiculously hot. I read that in one part of California, it was like 120 degrees Fahrenheit. That's like Qatar level temperatures. We got 2 people. Hello, Christian Estrada. Gonna wait for some more people to pop up. Os. Are you going back to jiu-jitsu? How's jiu-jitsu going for you? Hello, Mediterranean Christian culture. Hess, I'm in the southern part of Texas, actually. San Antonio, if you want to be specific. Hello, Katarzina. I think one day I'll do a video on my experience in martial arts. I did it for over a couple of years, and I will say that martial arts is very, very beneficial for the mind, for the body, but at the same time, like, my experience in martial arts wasn't the best. I wish I had a good experience in martial arts, but I didn't. I got into a martial arts school back in 2009, and it was a borderline cult. Actually, it was culty, very culty. Oh, cool. Happy birthday. 56 to 68 degrees Fahrenheit. Where are you at? Yeah, so I think one day I'll do a video on my experiences in martial arts, but I'm just gonna wait for. I think I'm gonna wait until I get more subscribers. That way, I can guarantee that I'm gonna get enough people watching it. Because if I'm gonna do a video on essentially a warning to people who want to get involved in martial arts, I want to make sure that enough people see it, because there's a lot of men who do want to get involved in martial arts. A lot of men in their 20s or 30s, even younger than that. And I just would like to do a video where I could give you guys basically like the red flags. Yeah, the red flags to look after when you're doing martial arts. Because they are definitely a lot of, there's a lot of cults out there, and there's a lot of weirdness that goes on in martial arts. I think one of the biggest misconceptions about martial arts training is that when you get involved in martial arts, you're going to be in an atmosphere of humility, and it's going to be super calm, and people are going to respect you, because respect is what it's all about in martial arts. And all those things are actually true. Like, martial arts in principle should be about respect and humility. And there are schools that do harbor that atmosphere, but I didn't have that experience. I went to a martial arts school. It was 2009. I had just gotten out of high school. I graduated in 2008, so I was recently out of high school, and I really wanted to get into martial arts. I just wanted to learn how to defend myself. And got into a school, found a school. And the reason why I joined the school was because it was $50 a month. So it was cheap. And I went to the school, I met the instructor, and he was very athletic, this guy. I've heard that one of the red flags of a bad martial arts school is that the instructor is out of shape. I don't mean fat, I mean out of shape, because you can be fat and still be in shape. Believe it or not, that is true. I've seen fat guys who can really handle their business, so to speak. But this guy was very athletic, and he could do high kicks, spinning back kicks. He could do the splits. Like, this guy was dangerous. Punch super hard. He could kick super hard. So I joined the school. I liked what I saw. I didn't really know much of anything about martial arts. I didn't know anything about martial arts, to be honest with you. I was clueless. I couldn't even kick above my knee level. That's how clueless I was. Didn't know anything. But I will tell you, I joined the school, and I might as well just tell you guys the story. I joined this school and paid $50 a month. And I'll be honest with you, for the most part, it was a lot of fun. It was great fun. We'd get together. It was a bunch of dudes. We would chat. We would crack jokes. And we would do exercises. We would do stretches. We would do bag work. We would hit the heavy bag. We would hit mitts. The training was intense. It was very intense training, lots of bag work, lots of intense circuit training. And then we would do sparring. So I remember I'm trying to think here. I think it was on my second day or third day of training. Fresh, have no knowledge about martial arts, don't know anything. And my instructor, his name was Mike, he comes up and he's like, "Okay, Ted, you're going to spar." And I said, "What's spar? What's that?" "Oh, you're going to fight." Okay. Put the hand gloves on, put the mouthpieces on, and I had to spar with this dude who was way more experienced than I was, and he beat the hell out of me. This was not a friendly sparring match. This wasn't like, oh, it was a friendly sparring match, and no, this was him. This was this dude punching me repeatedly, over and over again. I ended up having a scratch on my nose. Blood was coming out. Scratches in different parts of my face. I want to say this was the second day of freaking training. Okay, insane. Came home completely just freaked out, traumatized, was in complete shock, actually. At that point, I was thinking about not going back to that school. And then I thought to myself, you know what? If I don't push myself, how am I ever going to know what I can actually take as a man, as a human being? So I continued on. And it was 1-2 nights a week. We would have these sparring sessions where it was full contact, head kicks, punches, knees, kicks to the ribs, kicks to the face, punches to the face, punches to the ribs, body punch, everything. It was actually a Taekwondo school. But in this particular class, there was no forms. There was nothing Asian about it. Okay. Like, so to speak, there was no forms. It was bag work, hitting mitts, shadow boxing, and sparring, and lots of push-ups. Crazy amount of push-ups. We would do push-ups all the time, and lots of stretching too. And I'll be honest, after maybe 8 or 9 months of training at this school, 3 times a week, sometimes 5 days a week, I was able to do the splits. I was in excellent shape for a while. And this is going to sound kind of crazy, but I had a six-pack for a while. I was in very good shape. I changed my diet just by a little bit. I just stopped drinking soda. That was the only change that I made to my diet, was I stopped drinking soda. Everything else was the same. I ate whatever I wanted, hamburgers, this, that, this, but I just stopped drinking soda. Lost a ton of weight. I would run about twice a week, would sprint up a hill twice a week. I was in excellent shape. And I will say that as weird as this school was, as reckless as this school was, and it was reckless because injuries were common, this school really conditioned you. It conditioned you. And I remember, I think it was like within my first month of training or second month of training, I remember my instructor, he said, Ted, come here. And there was a bunch of guys there, and everybody was looking at us, everybody. And he's at spar right now. So I put my hands up, and this dude just, boom, side kick to the face. I mean, it was like Chuck Norris style, old school karate, side kick to the face, right to the nose. Boom. I'm discombobulated. I'm shocked, surprised. And then he grabs me and he does this like judo hip throw on me, and I fall right to slams me right on the mat. And then he goes down, he bends down, he looks at me, and he as he's picking me back up to help me get off the ground, he says in a low voice, he says, "You see that right there, Ted?" He goes, "That's a fight. That's reality." He says, "Fighting isn't nice. Fighting is brutal. And that's what you just experienced. You just experienced the fight." So this dude kicked me right in the face and then viciously grabs me and does a hip throw and slams me right on the mat. And this is like, I don't know, 4th week of training, 5th week of training. When I saw the film, The Karate, like, I had seen the film The Karate Kid many times, right? And I remember Cobra Kai and I remember all that stuff. But then when I saw Karate Kid after going through this type of training and seeing the scene where the Cobra Kai instructor comes out and he's like, "Water's for the weak," and yada, yada, yada. Dude, that's real. There are schools like that. I went through one, and I stayed in this school for almost 2 years. I stayed at this school for almost 2 years. I became very loyal to the school, actually. And even though it was brutal, even though there was this crazy, like, vicious sparring going on, I stayed in this school because of what the training had done for me. I mean, all of a sudden, I was in great shape. All of a sudden, people were telling me, "Oh my God, dude, you lost so much weight. Oh, like, what happened? What's this?" Like, and it boosted up my confidence. And that boost in self-confidence, that is stronger than any drug. Like, when your confidence goes up because you're doing martial arts, that feeling that you have, that is literally like a drug. And it was amazing. It was amazing. If you ever, and I think you can find this on YouTube, but I did an interview with Jonathan Bernis. And this was back in 2000. And you can see that interview, and I'm just not really nervous at all. Why? Because literally the night before I flew to Phoenix to do this studio interview, I had done a heavy sparring session. And so in my mind, it's like, if I could go through a heavy sparring session with a bunch of guys who are bigger than me and stronger than me, then I could go through some interview. So it changes your mentality so much, dude. So martial arts is extremely powerful, extremely powerful. But the other weird thing about this school was that every single, like literally at the beginning of every training session, you had to bow down to the flag of Korea. So there was the South Korean flag on the wall, and once you came into the classroom, you had to look at the flag and bow down to it. And then before you left the classroom, you had to bow down to it again. And I had refused to do this from the beginning. I never did this. And I never told the instructor at the beginning that I had an issue with this. I just didn't do it. So after about, I don't know, 6 months of training, he turns around and he points his finger at me and he says, Ted, he says, you got to start bowing. And I said, no. And without missing a beat, this instructor, just like a military soldier, like a drill sergeant, he turns around, looks at the flag, he puts his shoulders up like this, he slams his hands to his legs, like in the middle, like you're in the military when you're about to salute, you know, that boom. He does that sort of thing. And he says, back straight, bow. And I'm just like, nope, not doing it. And he didn't say anything. And I remember he was very upset about that. He was very upset. And it was culty. You know, it was the training was brutal. Although it was, I mean, you got in shape fast in the school. It was brutal. The instructor was quite a well-known Taekwondo competitor. As far as kicks went, as far as punching went, this guy knew what he was doing. He could punch you in the chest and you'd be out of breath. And even when you had, because we would have gear on sometimes. Not the gear was kind of optional, except there was this one sparring class we would have every Tuesday night where like you had to wear gear. But for the most part, gear was optional, except for that one night a week. And the part of the gear, if you ever watch the Olympics, you see WTF Taekwondo, World Taekwondo Federation. If you ever watch the Olympic Taekwondo sparring, you'll see the chest protectors that the competitors have. People will say that Taekwondo is for pussies. It's for wussies because they wear chest protectors. You could argue that, and you could say, well, because in Muay Thai or in K1 kickboxing, they don't have chest protectors. But if you think about it, it's actually not a bad idea, considering the fact that when you take a spinning back kick to the body, when you take a really hard roundhouse kick to the body, the chances of you having a bruised or broken bone or a fractured rib is very high, especially when you're fighting someone who's at a very high level of competition. And I would wear the chest protector. The reason why I was so adamant about wearing the chest protector, probably more so than anyone else in the school, was because I had a busted rib. And I got a busted rib because my instructor did a spinning back kick to my ribs, and it put me out of commission for about a month. I'm not exaggerating. So I would always wear my chest protector. And he would punch me in the chest, even though I still had the chest protector on. I would literally get the wind knocked right out of me. So it was insane. It was insane. You know, and then so that was from 2009 all the way up to nearing the end of 2011, near the end of 2010. I was involved in this school, and I eventually left because it was just getting too weird. The sparring was just like, I mean, you had guys coming in and sparring shirtless, not wearing any gear, covered in tattoos. You were just getting a lot of weird, frankly, trashy people. And that's one thing I noticed about, I think maybe now things have changed a little bit. I'm not sure. But you see, back in 2009, 2010, this was the era of TUF. This was the era of The Ultimate Fighter. And you had reality TV. It was all about, you had this reality TV show called The Ultimate Fighter, which was done by the UFC. Basically, it was a bunch of guys in a mansion getting drunk and fighting each other. And they were all competing for who was going to be a fighter for the UFC. That's what the show was about. And they would bring in some of the trashiest people in America and put them in a mansion and have them drink alcohol and have them fight. And it was insane. But that show helped bring about this sort of trend where people would be super fascinated with mixed martial arts, and they would go to a martial arts school, and you would see these guys with tattoos, and they weren't really there to learn. They were there because they wanted to fight somebody, and we would get a lot of guys like that. A lot of guys like that would come to our school, and they'd want to fight, they'd want to spar, and I did a lot of sparring sessions, and it was insane. It was insane. But I will say though that as crazy as it was, that training, that 2-year experience really helped me out a lot, and it still helps me to this day. Like when I do debates, I mean, debating can be very stressful. Like when I debate people, it's stressful. I mean, debating is stressful, but that experience that I had in martial arts has really helped me sail over that stress. So it's super helpful. But then in 2018, I really missed the training. You know, I had a heavy bag. I still do. I still work with heavy bag. But that was the only thing martial arts related that I was doing, was hitting the heavy bag, which is actually great, by the way. I mean, if you don't want to join a school, but you do want to do some kind of training, get a heavy bag. Get a heavy bag, but don't do this thing where you get your bag gloves and you just start hitting the bag. Don't do that, because you don't know what you're doing. Go on YouTube, look up Bas Rutten bag work exercises. Follow the audio. If you really want some great boxing workouts that you can follow, like just play the video and just follow the audio as you're hitting the heavy bag. Look up Nate Bauer on YouTube. Nate Bauer probably has the best bag workouts I've ever done. I'm sure there's others that are good, but Nate Bauer is really good. And he just does straight up boxing. He doesn't do kickboxing, but he has like over 70 bag exercises that you can do. And some of them are 20 minutes long. Some of them are 30, and some of them go up to 50 minutes long, which is pretty long, pretty insane. But those are really helpful, really helpful. But in 2018, you know, I had at the time I was going through a whole controversy. Our own web designer shut down our website because, to make a long story short, he was Jewish and he was mad about some of the things that I was saying about Israel and Judaism and whatnot. Ended up sparking this whole controversy. And for about a month and a half, my website, shootbot.com, was non-existent, which was insane to me. And I was really pissed off, and I really wanted to get back into martial arts training, because that was kind of an outlet for frustration and stress. And so I wanted to get back into martial arts, and I found a jiu-jitsu school. And I heard that Brazilian jiu-jitsu was really good, and everybody should train it. So I did Brazilian jiu-jitsu. So I joined this school, and it was a Gracie Barra school. Gracie Barra is probably the biggest jiu-jitsu chain in the world. And the Gracie Barra training is legitimate. I mean, it's excellent training. It's legitimate jiu-jitsu training. For those of you who don't know, jiu-jitsu, Brazilian jiu-jitsu is a ground. It's a martial art, but it's a grappling art, basically Japanese wrestling. But you learn how to break somebody's arm, choke people. You do chokes and joint manipulation, moves that involve joint manipulation. So like arm bars and knee bars and toe holds and all these very painful moves that you can do in grappling. You learn them in jiu-jitsu, how to choke somebody. I mean, people don't realize this. They think, oh, it's just a sport. You go there to have fun. Yeah, you go there to have fun and lose weight and all that stuff. But at the same time, you're literally learning how to kill people. That's what when you join a Brazilian jiu-jitsu school, you're learning how to kill people. You're learning how to break somebody's arm. You're learning how to strangle somebody. You're learning how to choke people. It's pretty crazy what they teach you. So I went to this jiu-jitsu school, and it was great, for the first 9 months. And then in my last month there, which was the 10th month, things got a little weird. And we had this instructor who was, he was a veteran. He was in the military. He was an Iraq war veteran. Very athletic guy, brown belt in jiu-jitsu, on his way to becoming a black belt. He was very proficient at what he did. He was a good teacher too. He taught you the moves in a way that you can understand. But he kind of had a sadistic side to him, And one day, him and I were grappling, and he probably meant this as just a way to do some kind of roughhousing, but he ended up flicking my ear. And before then, my ear was already irritated because of all the grappling that I was doing a lot of mat work, a lot of grappling, a lot of sparring. And when you do a lot of mat work and a lot of wrestling and things like that, your ear will grind against the mat, or it's going to grind against somebody's gi. The gi is basically it's like the karate. The Karate Kid, you have Daniel, he wears the karate suit. Okay, that's basically a gi. You're going to be grinding your ear against somebody's gi. People are gonna grab your head, and you're going to try to get out. People are going to try to choke you. And your ear is very delicate. The material that your ear is made with is very delicate, and so it's easily irritated. It's very sensitive, and so when you irritate it long enough, you get what they call cauliflower ear. And any wrestling team you'll see in America, you're going to see people with cauliflower ear. Boxers have cauliflower ear, but probably a lot of UFC guys have cauliflower ear. And they're getting hit, they're wrestling a lot, so the ears get agitated enough that they kind of swell up, and the cartilage inside the ear breaks down, and it gets filled up with this fluid. I don't remember the name of the fluid, but it gets filled up with this fluid. So my ear had already been pretty irritated enough, and it was getting close to being on its way to becoming cauliflower ear, because I wasn't wearing headgear, which was my own mistake. But he ended up flicking my ear. And I said, "Hey, what are you doing? Stop that." And he stops, but then he does it again. And I said, "You're going to give me cauliflower ear. Enough." So he stops. And then I want to say about the next night, or the night, maybe 2 nights later, I look in the mirror and I have full-fledged cauliflower ear on my right ear. And you probably don't see it, but you can see that right there. See that roughness right here? That's the remnant of the cauliflower ear. So I had to go to I didn't want cauliflower ear because trying to sleep with cauliflower ear is difficult. It stings the ears, and it can also affect your hearing. So cauliflower ear is not something that you want, regardless of whatever knucklehead tells you about how it's a badge of honor and all that. It's not. It's something that you don't want. You have difficulty sleeping on that side of your head, and if you don't do anything about it, it's going to inhibit your hearing. So I went to the doctor, and the doctor drained the fluid out of the cauliflower ear and then patched it up. And she said, don't do any training for 2 straight weeks, nothing. Because if you do any training, you're going to re-agitate it, and the cauliflower ear is going to come right back. So don't do any training for 2 weeks, and then put headgear on. So I didn't go to training for 2 straight weeks. And before I went to the doctor to get it trained, I spoke to the instructor and I said, "Hey, you gave me cauliflower ear." And he started laughing at me. And to him, and he said, "I'd be so proud of myself if I found out that I gave you cauliflower ear." And to him, it was all just a big joke. To him, it's like, "Oh, this is wrestling culture," because he came from a wrestling background. And to me, it was a breach of trust, because when you're paying somebody to train you, there needs to be a certain amount of trust that the student has for the instructor. People don't understand, when you're training under somebody who's a brown belt in jiu-jitsu, a black belt in jiu-jitsu, hell, even a purple belt in jiu-jitsu, this person can kill you. When you have somebody who's way more athletic than you, who's way bigger than you, who has a very long background in martial arts, wrestling, over a decade in jiu-jitsu, and you have no experience in jiu-jitsu, this person can literally kill you. He can heavily injure you. He can dislocate your arm. He can really damage your body. He can injure your body, and the damage would be forever. There is permanent damage that this person can inflict upon you. And so there needs to be trust that the student has for the teacher. But if the teacher is damaging your ear, I don't give a damn what culture you come from, what sports culture you come from. I don't give a crap what you call it. That's a breach of trust. And so I left the school after 10 months of training there. And again, this jiu-jitsu school, it was culty. It was. When you walked into the school, they had this giant portrait of this old Brazilian guy named Carlos Gracie. And they would always talk about how the Gracie Barra school traces its lineage all the way back to Carlos Gracie, and how you have to bow before his freaking portrait every time you walk in to the mat, and every time you walk out of the mat, you have to bow down to this old Brazilian guy's photo. Actually, I should say this dead Brazilian guy's photo. And I never did that. And they never gave me a hard time about that. But I remember on the wall, there was this poster and there was all the rules of the gym. And the first rule of the gym was when you walk in, you have to bow to Carlos Gracie. That's a cult. I don't care what anybody tells you. That is a cult. So not only was it abusive, but it was a cult. And I remember early this year, I met up with an old friend of mine who also has a background in martial arts. And I told him about my experience with the cauliflower ear and how this coach gave me cauliflower ear. And he said, "Oh, Ted, that's common in all these martial arts schools. All these martial arts schools are that way. That's just how the culture is." And I told him, I said, that's abuse. I don't care what it is. I don't care how long it's been here. That's abuse. It's like if somebody were to say, well, the priest touched you. Well, a lot of priests do that, and that's become quite common here in the Catholic Church. So you should just accept it. It's like, well, no, that's abuse. So that's my experience in martial arts. Again, there were aspects of the training that I love. I love the training. That's the thing. It's like I never left martial arts because I hated the training. I never left martial arts because I was scared of sparring, or because I hated sparring, or because I hated the intense training. That was the reason why I went to training, because I loved the intensity. And if it wasn't, like, there were days where I would go to the gym, to the dojo, and the training session wasn't intense enough that day, and I would feel disappointed. Like I needed that intensity. I needed to get that out. And I loved it. I never left training because of the intensity. I left martial arts because of abuse. That's why I left. Anyway, maybe I'll edit this this whole talk that I just gave on my martial arts experience out and make it into a separate video. But anyway, I'm gonna read your guys' comments, and then another thing that I want to do is I want to read your guys' comments to my videos, because you guys leave a lot of comments to my videos and I don't have a chance to respond to them. So let's see here. Oh, you're in Toronto. Very cool. Only on YouTube for now. Okay. Gordon Ryan is starting an academy in Austin. I don't know who's Gordon Ryan. Gordon Ryan. Who's that? He's a. Wait. Oh, is he a UFC fighter? Oh yeah, I've seen. Yeah. Yeah, I used to see this dude on the gram. I used to follow all the BJJ pages on Instagram. I don't follow them anymore, but I used to follow a lot of them, and I still kind of follow some of them, but I just stopped for the most part. What's your opinion on the church's restriction of the Latin rite? Considering I've heard it, I don't think it's right. I think there needs to be. I think there should be more Latin rite churches. A lot of people, you're right, a lot of young people do want to join the Latin rite churches. The problem is that they have a lack of access to them, because usually traditional Latin rite churches are put into parts, they're usually put into the downtown areas of cities, and for the most part, it's a long drive for people to get there. So I think I don't believe they should restrict it. I think that's wrong. What do you think of Baathism and what? Baathism. Oh, okay. And Michelle Flock's ideals. So Baathism, from what I've heard about it, it was just basically Arab nationalism. It was also, I'm pretty sure it was socialistic, so it was national socialism in a way. It was nationalistic and socialistic at the same time. It was all about Arab nationalism. I don't think they ever got into this idea of the Arab race being superior, but it was definitely an ideology that sought to unite the Arab world together. In comparison to Islamism, the ISIS ideology, I would rather much have Baathism be the domineering ideology in the Middle East. But other than that, that's all I pretty much know about it. I don't really know much about it. Greetings from Ethiopia. Oh, hello, Ukrainian friends. So you're Ukrainian, but you're living in Croatia, if I'm not mistaken. Isn't martial arts super popular in Ukraine? And isn't the martial art of, what's it called, Sambo? Isn't that very popular over there? Did you get the COVID vaccine? Nope, I haven't gotten it. I'm trying to figure out if I should get the COVID vaccine. I mean, listen, if you want to get it, get it. You know, just be understandable that there's always possible side effects. But if you want to get it, get it. Hello, Joshua. My mustache has a black belt. What's the biggest obstacle between union with Orthodox and Catholic? That's a difficult question because there's so much. I would say that the biggest obstacle is probably an emphasis on or a fixation on national pride. There's a lot of that in the Orthodox world. I think the Orthodox tend to pull hairs over ideological or theological matters more so than the Roman Catholic Church. I mean, even I think it was John Paul II who came out and said that the Gregory Palamas controversy isn't really so much of a controversy, and it's not really a big deal anymore. I think the Roman Catholic Church is probably more open to receiving the Orthodox than the Orthodox are to receiving the Romans. I would say, yeah, I would say that those two issues. There's a lot of pride and there's a lot of splitting hairs. I want to learn Krav Maga. Go for it. Just make sure you find a good school. His workouts are great. Yep. Yeah, Nate Bauer's workouts, man, they're amazing. Hoist Gracie style. Oh, cool. Are you into that now or what? Krav Maga, you bow down to a picture of the founder. See, that's just culty. I don't know why they have that. I wanted to throw up at my first class of jiu-jitsu. Intense warm-ups. I'll tell you, the one thing in jiu-jitsu that really I found to be super intense was it wasn't so. It's kind of like running. When you start running, it's really intense and your heart rate goes up and you start feeling really off. But then comes to this point where you're in this state of flow, and in that state of flow, you just keep on going, even though you're tired. You're tiring your body. You're just in that state of flow. You just keep going, and it's not as bad anymore. In jiu-jitsu, what I always found to be the most difficult part of a training day was when the instructor would come out and say, "Okay, guys, pick a partner and pair up, and you have 1 minute to take your partner down." That was intense. So instructor would put the timer on for 1 minute, and you had 1 minute to take this dude down. And he had 1 minute to take you down. So you both were trying to take each other down within a minute. It was insane. It was like having two criminals kill each other in a gladiatorial match. Like, you have 1 minute to take your partner down. Go. Man, it was like sprinting. And we would do maybe like 4 or 5, maybe even 6 rounds of that. And after the last round, I mean, you are exhausted. But then you would do, after each session, we would do 30 minutes of sparring. And that was not including all the sparring that you did in the 1 hour session. So after the 1 hour session, you would have 30 minutes more but it was just sparring. And you would do 8-minute rounds, and I loved it. It was a lot of fun. But one thing I love about training is getting past that, because anytime you do a training session, it's always the first round, that initial part of intensity that's the most difficult, because you're pushing your body from being in a state of relaxation to being in a state of exertion and movement, intense movement. And Once you get past that, then you hit a state of flow where you can spar with your partner and you're moving and you're looking for different opportunities and all that. One thing I noticed about sparring is that when you're tired and you're sparring, now if you're a newbie and you've been training for a couple of months or a couple of weeks, and you're tired and you're sparring, you're going to be dead. Okay, you're not going to be able to function that well. But when you've been doing it for 9 months, 1 year, year and a half, and then you start sparring and you're tired, one thing I noticed is that I was the most focused when I was tired. I was in a sparring session looking at my sparring partner, and I was looking for opportunity. When you're full of energy, you're not tired, you kind of go all out. You're throwing punches and kicks, and you're very intense, and you start sprinting. Then once you get tired, but then you kind of know what you're doing. You know how to throw a roundhouse kick. You know how to throw a head kick. You can throw some punches. You can move around. You can back up. Once you have something of an idea of of doing all those things, and you're tired, you start to focus more. And I remember one time my instructor, he had us all do just round after round of fighting with gloves and mouthpieces. And I remember it was in the last 1 or 2 rounds, and pretty much everyone in the room was sparring with intention, not intensity, but we were all sparring with focus. It was amazing. And I remember after the training was over, our instructor came over and he said, "Did you guys notice that you guys were more focused when you were tired?" Yeah, we all noticed that. Because you're in a state of flow. You're not focusing on your energy. You're not focusing on going all out with full intensity, but you're focusing on what you can do within certain opportunities. It really is an amazing. When you hit that state of flow, that's like enlightenment right there. And the same thing with jiu-jitsu. When you're in jiu-jitsu and you're on the ground, the guy's in your guard, he's in your half guard, but you're able to deflect his attacks. You're able to be defensive. You're able to counter against whatever he's doing, and he's not able to take full mount position. He's not able to get past your half guard. It's just an amazing experience. Hi, man. How are you? I'm doing well, Alexander. How is everything in Norway? A kid died in a martial arts school reported by one of the martial arts channels. Yep. It happens. I've heard of people dying in martial arts schools. I've heard of people getting beaten to death. I've heard of people getting dropped on their heads and dying. It's horrific. There's a lot of twisted, messed up stuff that happens in the martial arts world. And it's not just in the Asian, the traditional Asian martial arts schools like Taekwondo or karate. It happens in mixed martial arts schools. It happens in jiu-jitsu schools. It happens in Muay Thai. It happens in every aspect, in every genre of martial arts. Abuse happens. And it happens more so than we would like to think. So, let's see here. You were dead on accurate about Turkey wanting to revive the Ottoman Empire and now trying to divide, the Dardanelles, Yeah, I appreciate that. Thank you. Hey, brother, can you do a show about the Hermetic heresy? I see a lot of Christians going that route. Hermetic, you mean like Hermetism? The following of the Egyptian sage Hermes? Is it Hermes Trismegistus or something like that? That's a lot of homework, man. You are a Croat. Okay. Dude, at first I thought you're Ethiopian. Now I'm like, then I'm thinking you're Ukrainian. Okay, you are a Croat. Okay. What is your opinion on Mirko Cro Cop? No lie. After getting my ass kicked in my second or third night of training, I was thinking about quitting. And then I found a video on YouTube. I think it was from Pride, Mirko Cro Cop, Croatian kickboxer, fighting against somebody, I don't remember who it was. And the way this dude fought, I'm like, I ain't quitting. I want to be like this. Mirko Cro Cop was my first inspiration. He's my first inspiration when I started martial arts training. So yes, they believe that the 12 zodiacs are the 12 disciples. Oh yeah, I've heard of this before. Yep. I want to be able to debate them. I mean, if I had to deal with someone like that, the first thing that I would ask someone who would tell me something like this is where is this theology in church history? Where is it accepted within the church that is part of the apostolic succession? Where do you see it in the first century? Where do you see it in the second century? You don't find it. So it's an invention that came later on. So therefore, it's not Christianity. It's BS. Do Arabs still disdain Turks? Yes, they do. Palestinians do. Yep, absolutely. Syrians, Iraqis, yes, many of them do. Why are you still shilling for Klaus Schwab when you know full well now that COVID 1984 is to get you eating bugs and own nothing by 2030? When did I start chilling for Klaus Schwab? I would like an answer to that question. No, I just said hoist gracious out when you were describing President Yasuo. Oh, I see. Okay, yeah. What's your opinion on David Goggins? Oh, man. Okay, David Goggins. So for those of you who don't know, David Goggins is a guy who he's an American guy who served in multiple different parts of the military. I think he was a Navy SEAL, and then he was a Green Beret, or vice versa. And he was a man who was very overweight at one point of his life, and then he wanted to get into the military. And in getting into the military, he lost a ton of weight, got into fitness, got into staying in amazing shape. So now he has become a fitness influencer. He's a guru. He's a fitness guru. And he tells people to get off their asses and lose weight and stop being lazy and follow your dreams and all that. He is a fitness enthusiast / motivational speaker. And he does all sorts of crazy things with his body. I think he runs 10 miles every day, which is insane. But he runs 10 miles every day. He proudly admits that his feet are absolutely damaged from all his running that he does. His feet are completely. There's a picture on Instagram of his feet. His feet are in horrendous condition. I thought my feet were in bad condition. No, his feet are in terrible condition. And he also has a health condition with his lungs, I believe, something like that. And he tried to run a marathon, a huge, super long marathon. And the marathon, the people, the organizers of the marathon, they eventually had to disqualify him in the middle of the marathon because he did not disclose to the organizers that he had this terrible condition for his body. So I think a lot of the things that he says are true. Okay, stop being lazy. Don't be a lard ass. Okay, fine. But at the same time, he teaches this dangerous obsession with fitness. And I'm not a fitness expert, but I'm a human being, and I know exertion when I see it. I know overexhaustion when I see it. And he basically he is encouraging people to overexhaust their bodies way too much, way too much, and to a great extent, I think he's selling insecurity. He's telling people, you're a bitch. He says you got chestnut syndrome, which means that your balls are in your chest and not out. You're essentially a pussy. You're a weakling. And you need to go out and be this sort of fitness fanatic. And I think that's just too much. I think it's excessive. Running 10 miles a day. I can understand if you tell people, hey, don't be a glutton. Do some exercise. I can understand that. Firas Sahabi, who is he's one of the more famous UFC trainers. He trained George St. Pierre. He talks a lot about this. He talks about how there is a danger in the modern day fitness world that in which there is an obsession to overexhausting your body. And he says that this is a very dangerous fixation, and it's destructive, because when you're overexhausting your body every day, you're going crazy. You're going way above the limit that your body can handle. You're damaging your body. You're not doing it any good. And what Firas Sahabi says is that people should do basically half of what they're capable of every day, or they should do a moderate intensity of exercise each day. That way they can train every single day. Because as he says, if you exert yourself and you try to exert yourself every day, eventually you are going to stop training because you're going to injure yourself. And I know this from experience, because I used to be that guy. I used to exert myself every day, do like heavy amounts of heavy bag work, lots and lots of push-ups, lots and lots of different sort of body weight exercises. I never really got into weights, but I've always enjoyed doing the body weight exercises, especially I love push-ups. Push-ups that's my number one exercise. It's the easiest way to participate in some kind of fitness. But Firas Sahabi says you should do moderate workout. That way you can train every single day, as opposed to exerting yourself and then injuring yourself to where you can't train for a certain amount of days. And what Goggins is doing is that he's telling people to exert themselves all the time. And he's running 10 miles a day. He's doing all these crazy workouts every single day. Yes, he's in tremendous shape, absolutely. But at the same time, it's just this excessiveness that's dangerous. That's my opinion on David Goggins. Same, I love the sparring. Yeah, it's amazing. Favorite rap artist? I don't really have one. Growing up in high school, I did enjoy some of the rap music from the early 2000s, but again, I don't really listen to that stuff all the time. I don't really have a favorite rap artist. Why does God despise homosexuality so much? Is this a trick question, really? Why does he despise gays? Like, why does he despise murder? He despises it because it goes against his natural design. No children are born from a homosexual union, and gay people who have children from artificial insemination or from in vitro fertilization, they're taking the natural order and then manipulating it to their ends. So they're not really proving that gay people can have children. They're just proving that the natural order works. So I feel like that state at flow can apply for work. Yes, absolutely. Other experience, yes. Yes, flow state applies to everything in life. If you're, and this is one thing that I always catch myself doing, when you're doing something conscientiously, you're not going to be that good at it. So if you're doing something, any sort of activity, cooking, driving a car, doing a piece of art, whatever you're doing, if you're doing something and you're focusing on every move that you do, you're judging yourself and you're putting yourself almost in a state of stress. So you really can't work efficiently. But when you're doing something and again, when you're doing something and you're not really thinking about it, you're just doing it because you've done it so many times, you're in a state of flow. Again, you're not just going to do something and get to a state of flow. Like when you do something for the first time or you're not that familiar with a particular activity, you're going to do things conscientiously. It's just natural. You're not really knowing what you're doing, and you're focusing on every movement, and because you want to get it right. And then when you want to get things right, you fail. Isn't that interesting? When you obsess over getting everything right, that's when you fail. But when you don't really worry about something, but you're just doing it, that's in a state of flow. And it takes time, as all of you guys know, it takes time to get to that level. When you're cooking and you've done a dish so many times, you can just talk to people as you're doing it. That's a state of flow. When you're driving and you've driven down a certain route so many times, no matter how long this route is, you're just doing it naturally. You're in a state of flow. So yes, absolutely. State of flow, flow state, however you want to arrange the words, it is definitely something that comes about. It's a phenomena that is real in every single activity in your life. The best thing I found for flow state is fasting, at least in the more intellectual. Yes, I agree. I truly agree with that. Yes, when you fast, something happens to your mind. I think it does something with the blood flow, and you start thinking sharper. You're not as tense. You're a lot calmer. It's amazing. What do you think of Nick Fuentes? I think he's a knuckleheaded Nazi sympathizer. I don't like him. I don't like Nazi sympathizers. You've been shilling for 2 years, unless you want me to believe you're actually that stupid not to see through the most transparent. Hold on, but how am I shilling? Because you said I was shilling for Schwab. So when you say someone is shilling for something, you're saying that person is somehow financially profiting off of whatever they're quote unquote shilling for. And you said that I have been shilling for Schwab. And I would like for you to give me an example of that. Could you give me an example of me shilling for Schwab, or however you say his name? So far, you haven't given me an example. You've given me a super long sentence with nothing of substance in it. So I would like an example of your accusation. David Goggins had heart conditions. Yeah, he had some kind of a condition, and he ended up getting disqualified or booted off a marathon because what he was doing was dangerous for his body. Would you ever do a live cooking stream? Yeah, I think so. It's not a bad idea. I don't watch Fuentes, but I did run across a recent video he put out that was accurate. He, like me, would rather die than get poisoned. Okay. I mean, go ahead and die, I guess. My dad watched Cro Cop on a regular. Dude, Cro Cop was amazing. He's retired now, but my God, dude, that guy was a fighter of the first class. Amazing. You want to see a really good, legit martial artist? Mirko Cro Cop. One of the best. When he fought against Fedor Emelianenko, it was an amazing fight. When he fought against Arlovsky, I'm pretty sure he fought against Andy Hug, if I'm not mistaken. Andy Hug was an amazing fighter, by the way. Amazing fighter. Let's see here. I think you're someone that likes Immoral Technique as a rapper in regards to the favorite rapper. Okay, I'll look him up. Was the 2000s a better decade for you? Not really. No, it wasn't. I mean, the 2000s, I would say the best time for me in the 2000s was 2009 and 2010. That's when I was doing martial arts intensely, and it was just an amazing 2 years of my life because it really did transform my mind. It transformed me. It really did. It was amazing. But no, I would prefer to live now than living in those times because, I mean, I was in high school and junior high, and those times sucked. You had to go to public school every day, and you had to deal with asshole kids and asshole teachers, and it's like, who wants to deal with that, really? Who the hell wants to deal with that? Where have you been through? What do you mean? What do you think of Taylor Marshall and E. Michael Jones? This is becoming a meme. Every stream I do, someone asks me about E. Michael Jones. Taylor Marshall, I liked some of his apologetic stuff. I will say though, I don't. There was some dude from Austria who popped up. I forget. It was Alexander Schuggles. His name was Alexander Schuggles. And Alexander Schuggles was basically a guy who worked for the Alternative for Deutschland party, which is essentially a modern day fascist party. And Taylor Marshall just invites this man with open arms and says, "Oh, he's a great hero because he threw the Pachamama idol down a river." I don't really trust him. E. Michael Jones, I would say he says a lot of true things. I would say my only issue with Jones is that he says a lot of things that could be used to justify neo-Nazism. That's my issue with him. There's a German woman theologian who talks a lot about the loss of self and contemplative practices, and I agree. She asserts that ascetics often experience this state while doing mundane things. Yep. Yeah, state of flow. Your article for the last 2 years and my example. I know you're not profiting off pushing that garbage, so why are you still shilling? Okay, dude. I'm still waiting for an example. You said the last 2 years. Give me an example. Give me an example of me saying that Schwab or whatever, Schwab, you said Schwab, so I'm going to be specific to what you said. That I have been shilling for this German economist. So I'm waiting for an example. You haven't given me one. Hold on. Okay, this is a meme. Second time we're asked, same person is asking me about what I think about E. Michael Jones. Enough. This is becoming a meme. Allison McCombs. This goes against so much of the pragmatism of Protestants who try to optimize their productivity. But I've been trying to be meditative about how I care for our home and how I care for my family to fight back against the Protestant practice. Yeah, I agree with you. There's a whole idea that that it's just, you just be mechanical, but that flow state is what you're looking for. Yeah, but my issue with E. Michael Jones is that he talks a lot about the Jews, which is true. Again, what he says about the Jews is true. But it's almost like that's all he talks about. That's, to a great extent, a lot of what he talks about is that. But I bought 2 of his books. I have not begun reading them yet. I need to read them soon. But yeah. So I'm not seeing any questions on the stream so far. So I'm going to start. I really want to answer questions and comments on my videos. So here we go. So it's Julius Dennis. Theo, we've been in decline since 2003 when America went into Iraq and invaded that country. All COVID did was accelerate the decline by the time we get to 2030. Okay. I think for the most part, that's true. Heather Green. Oh, Heather Green is back. Wow. She's back. I thought she disappeared after the debate. Heather Green says, my reaction to the video title, good. And the title that she's speaking of is COVID and the Death of Globalization. Okay, Jimmy, you are so, okay, dude. You are pivoting so hard right now, man. Okay, I'm going to pull up what you originally said. You said, let me see if I can find it. Hold on. You said, why are you still shilling for Klaus Schwab? So when you say still shilling, you're implying that I am continuously supporting this guy. Now you're saying I've said nothing about him. So which one is it, dude? And just, dude, you are, okay. Just to let you know, go to my YouTube channel and look up the what's it called? The Great, what's it called? The Great Change or something like that. The Great Shift. What was it called? Dude, when you say somebody is shilling about for someone, you're saying that person is supporting that other person. And now you're saying that there's nothing that I've written on him. So so first it's, why are you still shilling for this man? Now you're saying, well, you haven't written anything on him, so therefore you support him. By the way, I did a video on the Great Reset. Go watch it. So you're full of shit. What animals do you have in your yard? I have a bunch of chickens. The Global Reset. Great Reset. Yes. Is Heather carrying Milo's child yet? It's like saying something like, why are you so like, it's like saying, why are you supporting Hillary Clinton? It's like, I've never supported Hillary Clinton. Well, you've never said anything about her, so you must be supporting her. So everything that you are silent on, literally, that means you're supporting it. Okay, but dude, you brought up Schwab. When have I shilled for Schwab? Schwab. You haven't given me any example. Still waiting. Still waiting. Immaculate Conception. Ha 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 ha. I don't know what that means. Oh, I hear you. So let's read some more of these comments. What if this pandemic is like the Tower of Babel? You would have to prove that. How is like the Tower of Babel? It's not uniting people. Wait, hold on. There's no way that COVID could be like the Tower of Babel, because COVID is not uniting people under one language or one government. If anything, COVID is breaking unity apart. That's why I did my video a couple of nights ago. I said that COVID is accelerating the death of globalization. Ashura, the Shiite ritual of self-mutilation. Ashura may not be Islamic in origin, but today it is part of the Shia sect of Islam so far. So for the Shia Muslims, it is Islamic. Yeah, but not an origin. Hess family, I am a homebody and I don't want to travel. Happy at home watching Ted's videos. That's awesome. The good news is many Iranians today are converting to Christianity. Yes. Yep. Dude, the mustache looks terrible. I think it looks okay. This is all true, but the evil forces of globalization are not going away and very likely knew this and possibly even engineered it. They are waiting for the right moment to pounce as the friction between nations escalates almost to the point of all-out war. Then the pretend peacemakers will strap in and bring us peace and prosperity, which will be fake by way of a new world order. It may be true that like people who are in the global order are engineering things, but it still doesn't change the fact that coronavirus is changing the global order as we've known it. Again, Jimmy, I'm not seeing any example, just a bunch of really stupid statements from you. Stuff that makes no sense, really. I think you're the person who has no integrity because you just made an accusation and now you can't substantiate it with anything. Which, I mean, if I make an accusation to somebody and I say, you've been shilling for this person, why are you still shilling for them? And I can't give a single example. I mean, I have zero integrity. Let's see what else is there. I like the stash. Cool. Nice stash. Thank you, Bradolf Schittler. The poison, the vaccine is the mark of the beast. Prove it. Jimmy C responds like one of those internet bots that has just like an automated message for certain sentences. Doesn't understand the sentence at all. It just gives you this one message, like those scammers when you say, "Hey, is this a human being?" And the guy's like, the machine is like, "Yeah, I am a real person, absolutely." Anyway, I want to tell you about this deal about solar panels. I actually have to take care of something real quick, but I'm gonna be back. Give me like, guys, hold on, just hold on. Give me like 10 minutes. I'm gonna stop this live stream, but I'm gonna be back after 10 minutes. Okay, I need to take care of something. Hold on.